Hey everyone, welcome back. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about network security, or specifically how to keep your media centers and home devices anonymized on the public internet. I've been delaying this particular video for a long time because it's pretty complicated. So this video is like a Proxy's VPN 101 video to just explain what we're talking about here so you understand the concept. I'll try not to get very technical, but feel free to hit me up in the comments or ask me questions. Or if you want to see more in-depth videos, then I can do those. So let's just talk really quickly about a most basic setup. So in your particular house or wherever you are, at the most fundamental level, you're looking at a network that pretty much probably looks like what you're seeing on screen. So you've got all your computers down here, your tablets and telephones, and your television and Kodi boxes, and they are all connecting to your router, which is giving you internet access. So from the router, you go to the internet, and then from the internet, you go out to all the services that you use on the internet, like streaming video sites or BitTorrent swarms or FTP, IRC, or the World Wide Web, or any service that's out here. So the point with this particular configuration, which everybody has or everybody starts with, is that once you hit your router and go out to the internet, everybody between your router and where you're going can see exactly where you're going. And if you're not over HTTPS, then they can even see all the data being transmitted. So if you're going to a website and you're typing in a password, you're probably bouncing through 50 or 60 hops between your router and that site, and every single device within that 50 or 60 hops can see exactly the information being passed. So, if you're typing in a username and a password in a field on a form, that username and password is being sent in plain text if that site is not HTTPS. Okay, so this is the most basic sort of view at a network model. So this is probably what you have. So in the case of we're talking about BitTorrent, you're downloading shows or stuff like that, or really anything over BitTorrent is really the key thing we want to talk about today. So you've got BitTorrent clients running on your PC, maybe you've got them running on your tablet, or maybe you've got some plugin for Kodi that's using BitTorrent. Well, those connections are going from your BitTorrent client to your router, to the internet, and to the BitTorrent swarm. So the way this normally works is copyright trolls, which are lawyers that make a living based on suing people, they will typically just go to the top 10 torrent sites, the big sites, and they will just jump into all the swarms, or at least the swarms that pertain to the clients they're working with. And they'll just sit in the swarm and they'll just capture every single IP address of the people that are in the swarm. From your BitTorrent client, you can actually see what they see, so you can understand this better. I'm going to go to my seed box. On my seed box, if I select a torrent, then I can actually take a look at all the peers that are in the swarm. And for this particular torrent, I can see right now as it stands, I've got 9 connections, or I'm going between 6 and 9 connections. And anybody in the swarm can see the addresses of the people in the swarm. So I can see these IPs all translate directly back to somebody's home router. I could then do a whois search and find out exactly which ISP it is. And then I could contact the ISP and say, hey, these IP addresses are in this BitTorrent swarm. That's in violation of XYZ. And then the provider will then in turn send the user that has that IP address a copyright notice, which may demand a financial settlement, or it may just be a warning, depending on the ISP. And then if this particular user has been, or this IP address, or the user associated with the IP address has been receiving multiple infringement notices, then a lot of ISPs will actually just drop the internet service, and that person will no longer have internet service. That's a big problem in most places, because in most places where I am, there is only one provider. So if you lose your internet provider access, then you have no more internet, which means that you're trying to go to the public library or something to function as a human being. So that's the way that works. Okay, so what you really want to do is you want to create some kind of barrier between the applications that are running on your devices and the public internet cloud here. So there's a couple ways that you can do this. The simplest way, the easiest way to do this is to use a proxy server. So if you're only worried about anonymizing your BitTorrent traffic and you're not worried about anonymizing your internet activity or your browsing or anything, the cheapest and easiest way to go is to subscribe to a proxy server service. And all a proxy server is a computer that's sitting somewhere out on the public internet that will make requests on your behalf. So in other words, and if you're a network engineer, you know this isn't 100% accurate the way I've drawn this up, but I've drawn this up intentionally to be simple to understand. But the way that what's going on here is you've got the PCs in the lower left-hand corner, and those PCs are running a BitTorrent client like uTorrent or Transmission. Okay, you configure that client to use the proxy server that you have paid to get access to. So you type in the IP address of that proxy server and the port that you're supposed to use for it. Then what happens is when this application goes to hit the public internet, it will hit your router, and then it will hit the your ISP's internet WAN access, and then instead of going directly to the BitTorrent swarm, it will go to the proxy server. And then the proxy server will go to the BitTorrent swarm. And then the data coming from the swarm will go back to the proxy server. The proxy server will then send it back to your ISP, which will then send it to your router, which will then route it back to your computer, which will then send it along to your BitTorrent client. So you can think about it as it's basically a man in the middle. So there's a man in the middle there that is acting on your behalf. He's receiving things from somebody, passing them along, and then he's getting them back, and he's sending them back along the chain. So if you're only worried about BitTorrent, this is probably your easiest route. What happens here is when the copyright trolls are snooping the swarm, which they do all day long every day, they will see the IP address of the proxy provider, and they will send the proxy provider a copyright notice. Now, you have to do some research on proxy servers because not all proxy servers are, providing anonymity services. So you may find out that you really haven't accomplished anything if you've got a proxy server that's just going to turn around and send you the copyright notice. So you really want to find a proxy server that allows you to sign up using Bitcoin or explicitly states that they flush their logs or that they don't pass copyright notices. Now, if you're with a provider that does send copyright notices, that's not that big of a deal. The proxy server, if they terminate your service, who cares? You could just go to another proxy service. That's not the same thing as your ISP. If your ISP terminates your service, you have no access to the public internet at all. So that's a very big deal. So there's a very simplistic way to accomplish anonymity. And once you've got this proxy server subscription out here, you can then configure any program on your network to use this particular proxy server, and you'll have this barrier. So you could open your web browser and then point your web browser to this proxy server. And then the proxy server would then go out and fetch the web pages you're requesting and send them back to you. So the website that you're going to won't even know where you're coming from. They'll only know the address of the proxy server. Okay, and then the last configuration that we want to talk about is the configuration that I'm running here in my environment. So this utilizes a VPN tunnel. So what a VPN tunnel is it's a tunnel. Think about it like a subway. It's a direct connection from a device on your home network through your ISP to a remote location, and then from that remote location, you then are connecting to all the services on the internet. The big difference is that the connection between your home network and this remote location is encrypted. It's an encrypted channel, so nobody can see it. Nobody in the middle can see what's going on. Your ISP can't see what's going on. Everything there is encrypted in this tunnel of mathematics that is creating a giant cipher spinning around your data, more or less. That's a simplistic concept or a simplistic way to articulate that, but that's effectively what's going on. There's a lot of math that's happening to obscure the data passing from your device to this remote location, and anybody in the middle is just seeing gibberish instead of actual data. So the way this works is building up from the previous scenario with the proxy. You've got your PCs, your tablets, and your phones, and your Kodi devices, and they're all connected to your router. And then your router is connected to the WAN. Now, the difference here is that off to the side, we've got an old computer that we've installed Linux on. So it's like a 7-year-old computer that we were going to throw away, but we just installed Ubuntu Server Linux on there. And then what happens here is we have a subscription to a VPN provider. So what happens here is whenever this Linux machine starts up, it establishes an encrypted VPN tunnel to a VPN provider. And now this entire machine, every single network connection on this machine is routed through the secure tunnel. So the real benefit of this is we can now run the BitTorrent client directly on this Linux machine. So in my case, I'm running transmission that you can see here, and you can see transmission web. It's available over the web. We do all of our torrenting through the web. We want to download something, we just paste in a magnet link or browse to the location of a torrent file and upload it. And this is all running on that Linux server. So all the connections here are encrypted, not just one program, everything. Every single network connection is encrypted through this tunnel. Now, if we take this a step further, which we've done here, in addition to just running that BitTorrent client on this Linux server, we've installed a proxy server, a local proxy server on the network via a program called Squid. Now, the real beauty here is that we've got a Squid proxy server running on this Linux server, which has an encrypted VPN tunnel established. And now, from all the devices in the house, I can just point all these devices, the Kodi machines, the tablets, all the web applications and whatnot, I can point them all to the local proxy server that's running on that Linux machine, which has that VPN tunnel established. So now everything is encrypted. So instead of just buying one proxy and having to configure it all and that stuff and worry about concurrent connections and all that stuff, I just purchased a single VPN connection, and then via my own local proxy server, I then am able to provide anonymity services to all the devices on the network. So good example of doing this is if we open up Firefox here, we see that we get a profile. And I've got this set up to where if I pick the main profile, then that just uses my regular ISP connection. So this is regular ISP, standard regular internet like I always had before. But if I pick the anonymous, the anonymous will connect to our local proxy server, which is on that machine that's running the VPN tunnel. So here we can actually check real quick to verify that, and we see yes, today we are in Ontario, Canada. So very nice. If I'm in Kodi and I want to use an add-in or something, then I can just open up Kodi here, and I can just go to the system settings and then go to internet access and flip this little switch that says use proxy server, enter in the IP address, enter in the port, and now I'm good to go. Now I'm using the proxy server, and when I go open in an add-in like Exodus or NaviX or something like that, Sports Devil, those connections are going through the VPN tunnel. So one of the scenarios people ask me about a lot is, okay, I've got a subscription to a VPN tunnel, but I got to go to all my devices and go open the tunnel. Yeah, I mean, you would have to do something like that if you don't create a configuration like you're seeing here. So this is the way that I do it. Again, apologize for the simple graphics. I'm not an animator or a professional video creator, so I just wanted to share some of these concepts with you. Like I say, we can get more in depth and explain how exactly you set this stuff up. If you're interested, just let me know. Anyway, just wanted to share that. We'll talk to you guys later.